Good morning. Okay. You can hear me typing. Did you hear me drinking as well? I was having a sip of coffee. I'm very excited to jump in and do this masterclass because I think that people tend to misunderstand where to find trends. So this is going to be interesting. Morning, Donna. Beautiful. Is the sound okay? Because I haven't used OBS for a while and it's done an update and it's sort of reset all the settings. So I want to make sure I'm not deafening you. Hi, Lyndon. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. All right, might give it a second and then we will jump on in. Just want to make sure everyone is here that's coming. Hi, Colleen. Beautiful. Alrighty. All right, let me share my screen and we will dive on in. Ta-da! Okay, so I'm going to go through some slides and then we will have time for questions, and I'm also going to show you through my app as well. Okay. It has been a while. I'm a bit out of practice with live streams because I haven't done them for so long, so bear with me. All right. So the whole purpose of this masterclass is to help you guys to get ahead of the trends in your niche before they flood the market. So you can be the person that everyone copies, basically. So the main problem that we see is that everything starts to look the same. And it's all because everybody studies the bestsellers and then they make their own version of what's already working. So if you multiply that by thousands of shops, everything starts to look identical. So buyers tend to scroll past and then the prices race to the bottom because people start reducing their prices because they're not getting sales. And so it just sort of, it's like this hamster wheel where everybody just keeps dropping their prices and nobody wins. So the shift really is that the winners and the ones that have lots of bestsellers, they aren't more talented. They're just earlier when it comes to some trends. So what I want to go through today is helping you guys to be able to spot the emerging trends early instead of copying what's already crowded. Knowing exactly where to look. So what are the real sources that you need to go and look at in your niche? And get you to be creating ahead of the pack so that you're one of the first and not the 1000th person listing a particular trend. So most sellers, what I see as their biggest mistake is that they tend to look in the wrong places. So a lot of people will look at Etsy search, they'll look at the bestseller lists, and basically if they're already bestsellers for that trend, then you're already a bit behind and that niche could already be flooded. So keyword tools are the same. If they're showing you something that's hot and already selling quite well on Etsy, they're not showing you what's coming next. They're showing you what's already there. So to get ahead, you need some leading signals and places that trends show up first before they hit the marketplace. So the way to do this is you start upstream and then you confirm the trend downstream. So let me explain what that means. So upstream is where the trends hit the earliest, and this is usually like your big brands, your retailers, your color and interior forecasts, Pinterest predicts, Google Trends, all of those sorts of things then filter down to Etsy being like one of the last places that they hit. Midstream are like Pinterest searches and boards, Amazon new releases, looking at people's reviews and seeing, what it says that are like negatives or suggestions for what they would like it to include. So I wish it had this, etc. Reddit threads are usually good for that as well. Also, downstream is going to be like your Etsy search, and your bestseller list. So it's useful to validate trends, but not to start, like you don't want to start there. Does that make sense to everyone? I just want to make sure that we're getting it. Everyone's gone quiet now. All right, let's keep going. So there's a few sources that work for every niche. There's color and design forecasts. So Pantone and the paint colors of the year, they set the color palettes for everyone basically for the year. You've got Pinterest Predicts and Google Trends. They do annual forecasting, and they also show the rising searches, not necessarily the top searches. Then you've got events calendars, and there's also Public Domain Day, and that's at the beginning of the year. So that's the 1st of January. And basically what Public Domain Day is when something's been copyrighted or trademarked for however long, and now it's free to use, that gets released on January 1st. So then it becomes public domain and you're able to use it. So that is what that is. Now, to look at this niche by niche, I thought I would go through it and show you examples per niche. So the first one is activities and games. So let's just say we want to look upstream and get ahead. We would be looking at retailers and Amazon new releases. So there's places like Lakeshore, Melissa and Doug, and Amazon Kids and Activity New. So if you look on Amazon, you can look up Kids Activity New and see what's actually starting to trend on there. Then you want to look at early learning trends like Montessori and play-based movement. Pinterest, you want to look at things like toddler busy book or whatever age group you're doing and the activities, and start to see what's starting to trend there. Then you also want to look at like school and seasonal calendar items, so the terms, the holidays, and you want to be like 6 to 10 weeks ahead of all of those. Then midstream, you want to be looking at particular TikTok hashtags and Instagram hashtags to start to see any patterns start to form. Now, I find what's really helpful is to look at the videos in those niches, because you often see that they're starting to show like things that are just starting to rise, or they're making them popular. Like if there are like some big TikTokers that have a large following, if they start something, they could create a new trend. So they're ones to watch. Also Reddit threads. So if you are in this activities and games niche, you'd probably want to look at threads that are related, like preschoolers, homeschool. Then you want to look at the professional ones like teachers and things like that as well, like educational professionals. They're all things that you want to start to look at. So if you can find something that's upstream, if you can find it twice in different places, then you know it's a trend. If you can find it once in upstream and then you can find it also starting in midstream, you know it's a trend. So you want to have confirmation. So you want to be able to find it in two places. So I would definitely be looking upstream. If you can confirm it twice there, perfect. If you can confirm it once there and once in midstream, you know it's a trend. Okay. Now, when you've got Google Trends, you would like to look in Google Trends at things like busy book, quiet book, escape room, printables. Like search for terms like that that are in your niche and see what comes up. You can also just type in words like activities or games and see what comes up and start to see like, is there a spike in that traffic that is starting to like, or if it's starting to rise, that's where you want to find it. Amazon reviews, as I said before, I wish it had. Look for those sorts of phrases in the reviews. Now, the reason I suggest Amazon is because it's such a high volume. So it's so much more volume than what you will find on Etsy. So that's where I would look. Okay. Now, when it comes to business and social media, it's the same thing. You're going through this exact same process, but you're looking in different places. So for business, one of the upstream places to think about would be new and emerging business types. So at the moment, we've got a huge emerging niche, which is AI. So think about all of the businesses that are now being started because of AI. They need templates and things like that. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, but AI will create that. Yes and no, because AI is not creating like editable templates and things like that. So, and if you're anything like me, you've seen the influx of like flyer graphics and social media graphics that are looking really AI and really robotic. And so I think that while that's popular at the moment, I think we're going to find that there'll be a big shift back to human created things soon. Because while that's good for things that where you're in a hurry, design stuff looks better. So I think that we'll see a bit of a shift. So that's where I would be looking, is like emerging businesses. Then you want to look at the industry and sub niche news. So think about like rule changes, new features, tool changes, anything that's in the news for that niche is going to lead you to something that's coming. So really pay attention to like what's happening in your niche. So let's just say, you know, if you've seen an article and it said this particular niche is going to boom, it's going to be a $300 million or $300 billion industry, start moving that way. You go, okay, what can I do for that niche? And that's the way you've got to think about it. Then you also want to look at template marketplaces. So Notion galleries, Gumroad, Creative Market, all those sorts of places, you'll get a good confirmation of what's actually starting to trend. Creative Market tends to get trends before Etsy. I just think that the more expensive sort of brands are on Creative Market. I don't know if that's sort of changed in the recent months, but that's what it always used to be. The more expensive, more designer sort of brands were on there. It's also a good place for you to sell as well if you are selling on Etsy in the business niche. When it comes to business, with the business calendar, I would think about it in a few different ways. So yes, you have tax time, end of financial year, new year, launch seasons, etc. But I would also be thinking of your sub niche. So I know Zabs was going to be here today. She's in the beauty niche. So if I was in the beauty niche, I would be thinking, okay, we're coming into whatever season. What beauty treatments do people tend to go for in that season? And I'd be preparing 6 to 10 weeks before then. So let's just say you're coming into like the summer season, like we are over here. We're coming out of winter, we're coming into the warmth. So you're going to start to see like tanning and those sorts of niches start to get more people buying in them. So at the moment, like in winter, people are all covered up, but coming into summer, that all changes. So you start to see those changes as well. Midstream, then I would be looking at TikTok accounts as well. So again, if you're doing Notion templates, you look at Notion based TikTok and Instagram. If you're doing social media, you would be looking at like Canva templates, and you'd be looking at content creators and things like that to see what's coming. If you are in the beauty niche, you would be looking at all different types of beauty leading niches, like people that are big in that niche, and see what's coming through them. And it could even be like trends to do with color palettes, etc. It doesn't have to be product related. So you keep an eye out there. Yeah, waxing, exactly, Colleen. All right, then Reddit threads. Again, look at whatever your sub niches are. Look at the Reddit threads for those sub niches. Google Trends, same thing. You're going to be looking at like Notion template, content calendar, all those sorts of things that are keywords of products that you already create or are looking to create, products that fall into your niche, and see if there's any that are starting to rise. And then you want to look at new content formats if you're doing social media, for example. So is there a new style that's come out? Is there a new format that people are following? Are they now doing like 7 carousel slides instead of 10 or instead of 20? Think about it from that side. What sort of changed? So AI is good at drafting things, but if you're niche specific and your designs are looking much more professional than AI, you're still going to get plenty of sales. Now, clipart and SVGs. This niche gets fed by every other category because you're supplying clipart and SVGs for all the other creators. So you would look at all of the other niches that we're going to go through and be preparing clipart for those pretty much. So you want to follow all the other 8 niches that we're going to go through. You also want to be looking at the color trends on trend palette sets. So you want to be looking at that as well. So start to see what's emerging when it comes to color palettes and apply that to products that you're putting in your store. You also want to do Pinterest searches, like whatever aesthetic it is, clip art, whatever holiday it is, PNG. Like start to do searches like that and find what's starting to show. Really look at those color palettes, etc., and just and the styles. Is it soft watercolor? Is it more of an acrylic sort of look? Like start to really see what's coming through. Again, you want to be ahead on all of the seasonal and holiday calendars and not just for like what you see in clip art. You want to be ahead for what you see coming for all the other actual niches. So because you're going to be servicing them. So depending on, if you are providing to all digital product sellers, or maybe you're just providing clip art for crafters. So whichever niche you are going after, you've got to be ahead of that niche. And then you would be looking at TikTok and Instagram as well. So for Cricut, sublimation, SVG files, looking at all those sorts of hashtags. So then we've got Reddit threads. Again, you would be looking at like Cricut and silhouette cutters, those sorts of chat threads. You could probably even find ones that are for clip art or for illustrations and things like that, and you'd probably be able to find a lot of comments that way as well. And so also Google Trends, you would be looking at whatever theme and then the word clip art, whatever holiday, SVG or clip art, etc. So you're just trying to find the trends that way. Again, you're looking for where it's somewhere where it's starting to rise. Then we've got design marketplaces just to confirm the trends. So you would have Creative Market, design bundles, etc. And you're looking for bestsellers. All right. How many did we get through so far? 3. So we've still got 6 to go. So education is probably quite similar to the activities and games. Probably looking at a few of the similar sort of areas as well. So again, to get ahead, you're probably looking at Teachers Pay Teachers, Lakeshore and decor brands. Things that come in new curriculum and also mandates in the school. So at the moment, there's a big shift towards learning about AI and also financial literacy. So you start to see, okay, well, I need to make some products that cater to those because they're up and coming. So it's getting you ahead. So that's why it's important to pay attention to all the news in your niche. I hope this is making sense. And so you want to pay attention to what's happening in the biggest scale of things in your niche. See anything like that that's starting to come through. So if there are new standards and new mandates and things like that, you start to go, okay, how can I apply this to my store? What can I create for this? So that's sort of where you want to be looking. And then you've got Pinterest and search. So looking for like classroom decor and then like subject printables and just seeing what's sort of starting to trend that way. Excuse me, my voice started to go. Too much talking already. Then we've got the school calendar. And of course you want to be 6 to 10 weeks ahead. So think about back to school. Now you've got back to school overseas, which is it like August, September? And then in Australia, it's like January, February. So you've got 2 different back to school time zones that you can sort of cater to. And then you've got holidays, like school holidays, activities for them to do when they're on holidays. You've got exams that that you could be preparing things for, so like test exams, testing your knowledge on certain subjects for exams. Those sorts of products you can really get ahead of. So if you can look at what's being planned for the English curriculum for grade 7. What are they studying? Are there particular books that they're looking at? You can get ahead and do comprehension activities, like little mini tests and things like that. Like, try to think about what is actually needed for this and get ahead. So you could put together like a tutoring pack. So you're helping people to get ahead on a particular book that they have to read for school. Like maybe there's kids that aren't that great with comprehension, so you're helping them with comprehension for this particular book and pulling different ideas out from it, etc. I hope that this is making sense and I'm not just waffling. But yeah, that's where I would look. Then midstream, you've got teachers of TikTok that you can look at, classroom decor, etc. Reddit, looking at the teaching threads. Google Trends, so looking at things like decodable readers, science of reading, all those sorts of things that are starting to trend. So start to look for keywords that you're starting to see around the place, see if they are rising. And then look at marketplaces to confirm it. So look at what's trending on Teachers Pay Teachers, what's being listed on other platforms. Just start to really be aware of your niche and everything that's sort of being listed out there. Everyone's gone so quiet. Where is everybody? You're not chatting. All right. Junk journals. I think we've got a few junk journalers here. So with junk journals, I would look at big craft retailers. So Michael's, Hobbycraft, scrapbook.com, all those sorts of places to get ahead. Michael's is probably the biggest one. They also do lots of articles on their site, so you can sort of read through them, see if there's any trends that are starting to emerge. The other thing is you start to see some trends with public domain archives. So what I mean by this is you start to see trends of like, the old papers and, like scientific, I'm trying to think of the right words here, scientific, botanical things on old paper, like things that start to get released to the public domain, but they're like diagrams of botanicals and things like that. Like you start to see those sorts of things coming through in the trends, and they come from the public domain archive. So pulling out particular things, like even scientific ones, you can start to see some of those coming through as well. So on like digital papers and things like that, instead of having like nonsense text in the background, a lot of people seem to be pulling these through from the public domain archives and pulling through these particular images from like old-fashioned books that have now been released into the public, if that makes sense. Then you've got Pinterest searches, so junk journal, looking for a particular aesthetic in ephemera. Did I say it right this time? Hope so. And then you've got like nostalgia and seasonal calendars. So think about, okay, we're going to do some autumn themed things. We're going to do some summer themed things. Like think 6 to 10 weeks out from those as well. You've got Christmas. You're just getting ahead with everything. And so what I would be looking at for junk journals is like, I'd be really going heavily into colors. But you can still do your washed out old vintage style, but just adding like those different pops of different color palettes. I'd be really looking at what's trending in the colors. I'd be getting ahead with anything to do with memories seems to be really popular. So I think when you think of like nostalgia, that's sort of what you're going with, like memories, family heirlooms, anything that brings back memories. Like they're all the things that you want to sort of keep ahead of, like traditions, things like that. Like if you can have products for all those sorts of things and get ahead of those, then that's where the market tends to go. That's what I've noticed. Then on YouTube and TikTok, look up junk journal channels or hashtags, look at flip throughs, etc. You'll start to see patterns. So what you're really looking for is patterns that you start to see with colors, styles, themes, things that start to really take off when it comes to a theme. So just keep an eye out. Google Trends as well, like look at ephemera, loaded tags, folio, junk journal, scrapbook, all those sorts of words, and just see what you start to notice is starting to just start to go up. Marketplaces to confirm. So you can confirm on Etsy what kits are rising, but don't start there. All right. I'm glad it's making sense, Donna. Oh, everyone's concentrating. Oh, good. Because I was wondering why no one was speaking. Okay. I think we're over halfway now. So party stationery. So you want to look at things like the big stationery and party retailers. So you've got like Minted and Merry Merry, Catch My Party, all these sorts of sites that you need to pay attention to. They, like if you look at Minted, you can actually become a seller on Minted. If you're creating really high quality work, you can actually become a seller on there and share the profits like with them, go that way. So they tend to have a massive turnover of like designs and things like that. So you start to see the patterns quite quickly there. Like they do sell a lot. They tend to come up in the top searches, etc. So they have that high volume. So you can really see what's going on if you pay attention to those. Okay, and then you've got the color and design forecast. So again, Pantone and paint colors of the year. Pay attention to those. Pinterest predicts and search. So looking up party themes for 2027 or first birthday theme, etc. Like doing those specific searches to find anything that's starting to trend. Then you want to get ahead of this season's holidays and milestones. So if you're making party stationery for any like seasonal events, you want to be ahead 6 to 10 weeks. You want to look at TikTok searches like party ideas, birthday party, party talk, etc. Pay attention to those. It's also really valuable in the party niche to be part of some Facebook groups that are specifically for parents planning parties. I know whenever I used to do stationery, I was in a few of those, and you would see trending topics coming up. So you would see people looking for particular designs. They would tell you quite openly, I'm looking for this design, I cannot find it anywhere. And then you would think about it and you'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, I can see the need for that. And that would then become a really good product to add. So if you are in that niche, make sure you join some of those groups. They are usually private communities, so you do have to join the groups. Then you've got Reddit threads. So again, looking at event planning or mummy sort of themes, those sorts of chat threads, you'll find a lot of party stationery on those. Then you want to look at Google Trends Rising. So whatever it is, party or whatever occasion it is, invitation, look at those sorts of keywords. And again, you can confirm that it's starting to rise on Etsy because you'll start to see that trend starting to appear, but with really low numbers. Planners and stickers. Now, this is one of those niches that everyone says is so heavily saturated, you can't compete. But I don't think that's the case. So what we have seen over the last 5 years is that instead of being like generic planners, like, your annual planner, your financial year planner, all those sorts of things, instead of that, it's become very niched down into specific planners. And so you want to look for planners in a particular theme for a particular person. So like teacher planners, fitness planners, ADHD planners, etc. So you want to look at trends that are specifically for the person, and that's where you can sort of really get in there. Also want to look at big planner brands like Erin Condren, Happy Planner, Hobonichi. You know I'm going to say it wrong. Bullet planners, and it's not so much for the actual designs that you're looking at, it's more what is included in them. So look at the, what is now included in a teacher planner. Are you covering all of those sorts of things? Is there a gap that you can find? All those sorts of things. Then you've got Pinterest searches. So again, putting in your theme or who it's for with planner, or digital planner ideas, those sorts of keywords. You do want to get ahead of big planning moments. So you want to be like 6 to 10 weeks ahead. I would probably even go a little bit longer ahead with planners. So I would probably be going like 12 to 14 weeks ahead, because I do notice that planner people tend to shop early. So I would definitely be looking at that. So make sure like you've got your New Year's planners out in, let's go backwards, December, at least October. Okay, then we've got midstream. So look at TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, look at planner addicts, like look at big planner channels. So there's lots of people that follow along with planners on YouTube, like so many plan with me type videos. So huge audience to tap into. Reddit. So looking at digital planning threads, bullet journal threads, all different sort of planner threads. You want to be checking those on a regular basis, and you'll start to see trends. Google Trends using Undated Planner, Habit Tracker, Teacher Planner, all those sorts of keywords. See what's starting to peak. That's, just starting to rise. And then marketplaces. So you could confirm it on, well, you've got Etsy. You've also got, I would probably be looking more like, I'd probably be looking more at like Instagram under those hashtags to confirm things as well. You've also got like Creative Market and Design Bundles. There would be other ones online that you could look at as well. I can't think of off the top of my head. But if you're starting to see planner trends starting to emerge, you will start to see them on the bigger brands first. So even on your Etsy searches, if you follow some of the big planner shops, you'll start to see the trends appear there first as well. Okay, wall art and frame TVs. So to get ahead, you're thinking big retailers like Anthropologie, West Elm, IKEA, Target, all those sorts of places. Just think about when you walk into like a big store. So let's just say we're going shopping, we're in some big shopping mall and we go into one of these stores. What's your eye drawn to? What colors are there? What sort of artwork is there? Pay attention. This is where your trends come from. So if I was in the wall art and frame TV niche, I would be walking around like all the big home stores, like anywhere that sells wall art, you'd find me having a good walk around, or decor. I'd be walking around, checking it all out, looking at colors, looking at the designs, etc. That would suit me anyway, because I like that sort of stuff. So, Colleen said Zinnia is another good place to confirm for planners and stickers. There you go. Never heard of that one. All right. So then I'd be looking at like interior magazines and reno shows, looking at the colors, House Beautiful, Paint Colors of the Year, etc. So look at all of those, pay attention, see what's starting to appear. What are people starting to use in designs? That's what you want to pay attention to. Then you want to look up gallery wall, whatever type of aesthetic it is, and then wall art. Like really start to search those terms. And you want to get ahead of any seasonal refreshes. So people tend to change out their artwork seasonally. I don't, but other people seem to. And then you want to be ahead of those. So be ahead of holidays, be ahead of any seasonal refreshes. Then you want to look at TikTok and Instagram. So Home Talk, Frame TV, Gallery Wall. Like start to look at all of those hashtags. And there'll be a lot more. I mean, I'm just touching on a few here in this training. So there are so many things that you could look up. And so on Reddit, same thing. You want to look at interior design threads, cozy places, the frame, all those sorts of things to help you to find what's starting to trend and also like what people are talking about. Then you want to look at Google Trends Rising. So look at frame TV art, whatever the aesthetic is, and print set. And then you want to confirm that this art is starting to rise. And I think if you go to Samsung, I'm pretty sure it shows you what art is starting to rise as well. It has something about wall art for the frame TVs. And I'm pretty sure it does start to tell you what's starting to rise. So do research, find what marketplaces actually show this. I mean, is there a home decor place that, also has like images or suggestions for frame TVs? Like start to think, and you could use AI to help you research. Try and think of all the different places that you could check where things are starting to rise. So you could go to AI and say, okay, this is my niche. I want to look at where I would double check new trends are starting to emerge for frame TV art and give me a list. And it'll probably give you a list of things that you could go and look at. Okay, now we're on to weddings. We must be getting close to the end. So now we are looking at big stationers and bridal fashion. So you've got minted, Zola or the knot, runway. So all of these, you want to be looking at, what's trending in colors and what styles, what fonts, like what is starting to emerge. You want to look at Pantone and the wedding color of the year. You want to look at wedding trends the year ahead. So you want to look at wedding trends 2027. You also want to look at whatever season it is and wedding palettes so you can see what's coming for that season. And you want to be ahead of any upcoming engagement proposal seasons really early. So I'm pretty sure wedding season is like around September, so you want to be 6 to 10 weeks before that. Not to say that that's the only time it happens, because people get proposed to all the time, but that seems to be the biggest boom seems to be for weddings and things is in September. Then you've got like wedding talk, bride to be. Look at planners to do with weddings and also look at florists. So if you can start to see what's trending when it comes to like flowers, you'll start to see colors emerging there too. So you'll start to see, oh, this particular flower is starting to be really popular for weddings. I'm going to do some designs that match in and have these flowers on them. Like think of it that way. Then you've got Reddit threads. So you've got wedding planning, weddings under 10K, might be more than that, weddings under 20K. Like, really look at those particular threads, study them. Then you want to look at Google Trends Rising. So look at things like seating chart, QR wedding, vow book, all those sorts of things. And confirm any trends rising by looking at like the knot, the wedding wire, any forums, and on Etsy as well to see what's rising. Oh, we are at the end. Woohoo! We got through 9 of them. That was a lot of talking. Okay, so if we were to pick one thing together, you would take one signal all the way to a product. So the signal would be, where did you spot it? A big brand, a color forecast, a rising search, a new release, and then you take it to a product. So what would you make from it? map it to your formats as a cohesive pack, not one design. So always try to think of what would complement it. So if you use weddings as an example, you would make like a whole suite of products. If you were looking at junk journals, maybe you've got like a whole kit that you would create for a trend. If you were looking at clipart, where you're going to do like a whole cohesive pack, you're not going to do just one. If you're looking at business stationery, maybe you're going to have, a set pack that you're going to be making. Maybe you include socials and you include newsletters like templates and things like that. Maybe it's a launch pack. Like, think about a cohesive pack that you could design for the trend. You can list them individually and as a pack. So think of it that way. Then the check. So how would you confirm it? Make sure you date check everything to make sure it's rising now and it's not in the past. And then use either Etsy or some other method to validate that there is demand for it. So you usually start to see new trends might have like 1 or 2 up to 10, 15 sort of listings on Etsy, but they're not flooded. So if there's pages and pages of it, then you're probably a bit late for that trend. But if you are seeing like maybe 10 listings, you know that you can still compete with them easily. And maybe yours is like a different theme or something like that, and so it's really going to stand out. So from signal to product in 60 seconds, we would go, okay, there's a signal here of mocktail and zero proof bars are now a headline wedding detail. So not a novelty, and there are barely any templates that exist for it. So then you would make, okay, a matching dry bar menu, bottle labels, and a bar sign. And you'd make it in this season's warm autumn palette. So it's a cohesive set, not one file. And then you would check that it's rising now. So you would make sure it's digital friendly and look at some marketplaces that sort of confirm demand, but there's very little competition. Hope that makes sense. So basically, to get ahead, you're not chasing the look. You're making what nobody's made yet. So you have to sort of train yourself to think, okay, I'm not going to copy bestsellers. I'm going to look at new things that I haven't seen there yet, but I think are a really good idea. Things that, you're starting to see backed up by actual data that people, are starting to go for before it hits Etsy. So it is new behavior that you need to sort of implement. So basically, you want to spot the new thing that buyers are doing and make the printable that almost nobody makes. So for weddings right now, that might be mocktail bar menus, photo share signs, cash fund cards, all those sorts of things. So think about, weddings is probably a really good example actually, because you start to see new trends appearing at physical weddings. So let's just say a new trend started at a wedding. Maybe it was something like everybody gets a vase to take home or something. In order to, like, I'm trying to think of how you would do this, but this is just my example. So let's just say everyone gets a vase that's on their desk, on their table. You'd have some sort of thing around it, like a printable, like label. I'm trying to think of like how you would word this, like a box that goes around like the stem that says, please take this with you, something like that. So you start to see in the physical weddings, things start to emerge as things that people are including, and they can become big trends. So I remember back whenever I was a little kid and we started going to people's weddings, there was always those sugared almonds in a bag, and they always had like a cute tag on them. So that initially was a trend. I don't know what they do nowadays, but then you've got like when people get cake and they put them in those little cake boxes, you could do labels for the little, the individual bits that they slide your cake into, those little white boxes. You could have labels on those if you wanted to. Like, think about turning things from the physical into a digital. That's sort of where I'm going with it. So that's an object that people might have. You dress it up as a digital product. Then you've got rising motifs as well. So think about your formats that you currently have. There might be something that starts to trend, like a particular, not a character, but like a particular thing. Like maybe all of a sudden people are putting like a plant outline on something. Then you could make, a set that includes that type of motif. So just try and think outside of the box. Try and think, okay, I'm starting to see this. And once you start to notice trends, you'll notice them everywhere. So if you're really in deep with your niche, you'll start to see trends forming all the time. So these are the checks that will save you a lot of time. Date check everything. So is it rising now, or is this from last year and it's just sort of left over? You want to filter out any physical good trends. So you sell digital, so you adapt whatever it is to being digital. Don't copy it. You want to pull the palette and fonts from things. So the trend is the look. It's not just the subject. So you really want to make sure that you start to use the trending colors and fonts. And you want to make it a pack. So cohesive sets sell better, and it's a bigger return on investment for you too, because you're going to get a higher average order out of it. So make it as a pack, sell it as a pack. You can also sell things individually as well to bulk up your stores. So the calendar is really your cheat code. Get ahead of that, get ahead of the season. Don't design things in the season. Make sure you're ahead 6 to 10 weeks at least. So, sorry, I hit my microphone then. Work backwards from the event clock. So any holidays, any seasons, any milestones, work backwards, because that's where predictable demand is. So right now that means Q4. So it's September, so Halloween, then Christmas, where you really want to be right now. That's the openings. And proof that it works, nearly every request that came through in my app this month were for research to do with seasonal, autumn, Halloween, Christmas colors. So sellers are already thinking ahead. So you definitely want to continue and be ahead with those. Be the first. Now, you need to do all of this every month. It's a lot of work, isn't it? So you need to think about more sources than just what I've shown here. So these are just a starting sample. You need to make a list of all the different places in your niche that you're going to go and check every month for trends. So it can be like a full day or two every month to do this research. So I know I've had a lot of people say to me, can't you just get AI to do it? And the truth is no. I wish you could, but when you get AI to do it, it comes through very generic. It doesn't give you trends. It gives you like a lot of fluff. It gives you a lot of things that you go, oh, I've seen that around for like 2 years. So you need to dive deeper. So you need to know all the places to go. You need to figure out all the places in your niche that you can really go and find information about trends. So it goes wider and deeper than what we've gone through here. So in your niche, you need to learn it really deeply, and you need to know who the main players are. So who are all the big brands? Who are the big retailers? Where are you going to go? Like, what threads are you going to look at on TikTok and Reddit and YouTubers that you're going to follow, etc. You need to know all of them. You need to keep an eye on all of it. You need to date check everything and filter things out. So cut out any fads that it's only going to last a week and then it's gone. cut out anything that's physical only or anything that's last year's leftovers. You do want to use palettes, fonts, and keywords. So you want to pull that whole look together and get ready to build from it. So it is a lot of work, but you can definitely do this research yourself. I used to do this for myself, for my own stores, and I found that that was how I got a lot of sales, especially initially, because I would try to get ahead of anything that I seen coming through. And it is a lot of research before you've even made anything. It is a lot of research, but you start to see things. Like if you start to do this every month, you start to see things before they start to trend. You start to really pick colors from everything. So, excuse me, you'll go shopping and you'll start to see, oh, all the clothes are now beige, or all the clothes are now with a pop of orange, or all the clothes now are starting to get like this salmon pink. And you start to see color trends like that as well. So they're all things that you need to pay attention to. And so when you start to do research like this, that's what you start to notice. You also start to notice really bad typography. And you look at brands and you go, oh, that's not very nice. So I do know that I do that now. Like, oh, there goes my dog. I often see brands that have used like capital script fonts and things like that. And I'm like, how did you do this? And so I start to see all of those sorts of patterns while I'm doing trend research. So this leads me to my app. So if you don't want to do any of this trend research, this is what I do every month. So it's all research for you inside of my app. You get all 9 niches that we went through, and they're refreshed every month. So we have all the sources, palettes and fonts are done with suggestions for you. So you can create ahead of time and not behind. So I do 1 drop every month for each niche. And the reason why I'm only doing it monthly is because the trends don't change that often. So a lot of like apps like Insight Factory and things like that, they're updating, their data all the time, but the trends aren't really changing. And the data that they're uploading is coming from best guesses from what they're looking at on Etsy. It's not even accurate. So that's why I'm trying to get this information, way ahead of before it hits Etsy. And so I'm still fine tuning it. Every month it's sort of getting tighter and sort of more in depth as well. So I'm starting to go, okay, I've found this new place that I can find trends, etc. So each one I'm sort of expanding on each month. So it is growing. We're only on to month 2. So it's been a bit of a learning curve getting it all done for niches that I've never actually sold in. So junk journals I've never sold in before. So I'm like, oh, this is a different niche. So I've sort of had to really study it as well. So yeah, I will go through my app in a moment for you and just show you around if you aren't familiar with it. So your next step, stop starting with Etsy, go upstream first. Use the sources for your niche because you now have them, or you have a good starting place, and create ahead of the copycat. So be early, don't copy and be identical to everyone else. So you want to stand out in that sea of sameness that you're seeing at the moment. All right, who's got some questions for me? Hit me in the comments with your questions. Now, while you are dropping some questions, I will quickly show you my app. Let me pull it up. Okay, so in the digital product forecast, when you have an account, you'll see all of these across the top. So the drop zone is the first place that you're probably going to start. If you want me to check any particular trends, you can put in here what you'd like to see researched, or you can note down any trends that you're seeing as well. When you submit it, you also get to see everyone else's suggestions here. So these are the 9 niches that we just went through. Let's just pick one and I'll just show you how it's laid out so you can see. Of course, there's always a tech problem whenever you're looking for something when you're live. Why, oh why? There we go. All right, beautiful. All right, I'll go through junk journals in a moment, Karen. Okay, so what we try to have in here each month, when I say we, it's me. Up the top here, you have the drop down, so you can see the previous drops as well. Now, in this section, you can download the entire thing. It will just save all of this to a PDF for you, so you can just print it out and work through it if you want to. You can add anything to your own studio. So you have a My Studio up here. And so you can pin any of these that you want to get ahead on. You can pin them up into your studio. Then you have like anything that's coming up in the month, like anything that's in the news, anything that's really big that's coming up that we find is sort of listed here. And then we go through some trends that we're starting to see. So with the trends, I have been adding an image generated with AI to sort of give you that example, and also some color palettes. Now, the reason I'm using AI instead of people's listings is because I don't want you copying things, and because we're kind of ahead of what people are creating anyway. So we're going through like cottage course, trending, bright and bold, retro game night, moody and dramatic, calm and low stimulus, so having sort of calm colors, bright and playful. So these are sort of the ones that are actually trending at the moment. Now, on each one, you can see how we've got a how to use it, and we've got what to actually create, sort of as a suggestion. Now, if you expand on each one, just using this little arrow, you can go, okay, I've got a title here that I could use, or a prompt, I could copy that. Then we've got a listing title here, so you could click on each one, and each one's going to give you a listing title and 13 tags for it. So just to help you to get started. You don't have to use them. You can mix them up. You can just take some words from them and not others. It's just to help you. Now, with products taking off, these are things that we're starting to see mainly coming through like TikTok and things like that. So you start to see all of those as well. And again, we have like what to make, so that gives you that good idea, because I find that one thing that people have is like they get the trend and then they're not sure how to create something for that trend. So that's why I've got this make this section. And you can save these to your My Studio. So basically when you hit save, you can create your own product. So this should say product, not project, but you just give it a name, hit create, and it will add it to that particular product that you want to create. And you can do the same with any font pairings. You can go, oh yeah, I like that font pairing, and you can add that to the particular mood board that you're creating as well. Same with all the color palettes here. And we have all the hex codes on them for you. Then we have decorative motifs, so what's rising. These again are just examples, but you can visualize then what it is. Viral watch, so anything that's really starting to take off. What buyers are asking for, so this is coming from threads like Reddit and those sorts of places. You can click through and you can read those threads as well. Then we've got other things that didn't quite make it to the trends, but we are starting to see them coming up. I've got content angles that are starting to land in your niche, so how to actually get more eyes on your products using social media. These are different angles that you could use. We also have in here the Now Legally Yours section, which are things in the public domain that you could use. And then we have a news section, so what is happening in your niche, where to sell, and then tools that might be helpful for you in that niche. And we also have the most used sizes down here as well. So that's what's in each drop for each particular niche. So the whole purpose of this app is so we're finding the trends upstream before they've become saturated on Etsy. So that's the whole purpose of it. So I'm trying to fine tune it so that we are, getting as many trends as we possibly can that are upstream before they've sort of come downstream. So that's where we're at. Now, if we wanted to look at the My Studio section, just takes a second to load. Now, once it comes up, you will see these are the things that you want to get ahead of, like events. So what's coming up, when we pin them, they appear here. You can then create your product. So you plan your product here. And so basically you'll have like a mood board for every product. So when you add things from the trends list, they appear here. So under the product that you've got them under. Now you can add your listing URL here if you want to track it. You can put it's an idea, it's in progress, or it's published. And then if that trend sells, like if this product that you create for this trend sells, you just click here to say it's sold. And what this does is when you're creating something for this trend, under trend setters up here, it shows you, just takes a second, it shows you who is actually working on what trends. So it doesn't show you who's working on it. It just says one person's making, right? Now, once you get a sale on something, so let's just go back. Let me mark this as sold. So if we go, it's sold. If we come back over here to trend setters, so you can see here now we've got one person making, one has sold. Now I know nobody's been using this at the moment, but that's how it works. And this is just to confirm the trends. So it doesn't show what's been made. It doesn't show who's made it, anything like that. It's just to actually track the trends and just make sure that people are getting sales from them. Now, I know that people haven't been using it, but they've been telling me that they've been getting sales from working on the trends. So I just wanted to mention that's what it's actually for, and it doesn't show any personal information. So that's in the My Studio. So you can easily just duplicate as well. And once you duplicate, let me just do one so I can show you. So once you duplicate it and you have another one here, you can actually move items between. So once you don't have to duplicate it. Once you've created another product, you can move items in between those boards as well. So you can just sort of decide where you want to move it to. So I hope that makes sense. Then we also have in here the newsroom, which it has all of the news that is from each niche, but it also has platform news. So anything that is like Etsy, Shopify, any of those sort of platforms that you might be selling on, it would have platform news that's specific here. Any AI updates for sellers, so anything that you need to be aware of. There's a lot here that are coming through like Canva. Then we've got all the niche news as well. So you can see all of it there. And then you've got general seller news as well. So anything that updates in the Etsy seller handbook, I'm making sure that I have that in here as well if it applies to digital products. Then we have calculators as well in here. So in the calculators, it's just to help you to work out, how much you could make from your store. So let's say you have 100 listings, you get 1,000 shop visits. You're not really going to be getting, a huge amount per month if your average is $12. But if your average is $29, it's going to increase. So it's just so you can fiddle around with it and work out, what growth you'll probably get in your store. If you wanted to work out how many listings you need to get to your goal here, then you could always do that as well. So that's saying I'm already exceeded my goal because I just put it as 500. But if we were to put, let's say $2,000 is our goal here, then we need this many listings and this many visits. If we wanted to look at our competitors and put in their total sales, the years they've been open, their average price, and their number of listings, this will give you a rough idea of how much they make in their store. So all of that is just sort of in the background just to help you. I also have in there your own shop forecast. Now, this is mainly to help people that are stuck on particular areas. So if you have views but no sales, click on this bit, it'll just sort of walk you through it. So that's basically how the app works at the moment. But yeah, drop me any questions if you have any. Oh, did you want me to look at junk journals, Karen? So yes, Donna, I try to get everything upstream before it comes downstream. So that's my goal for the app, is just to keep finding trends that are coming through. Is it possible to purchase a one-off report as needed? I haven't really thought about it, Lyndon. I can have a look and see if there's something that we can do. If I was to do a one-off report, it would just be like the PDF version. So we'd have to have a look. So who's got questions about trends? Hit me with any questions. Was any of this helpful? Has it got you thinking about different places that you could look? Let's go back here and while we're waiting, I will go through the junk journal one. There are a lot of people stuck in Insight Factory. Insight Factory have changed everything, the layout. I don't know, it just seems very complicated all of a sudden. So junk journals. So at the moment, there's a big sort of shift towards memory-based things. So junk journals, we've got maximalism with meaning. So that's all your memory kits, those sorts of things. So I would definitely be looking at making things, anything to do with where you could make a memory. So it could be to do with holidays, could be to do with like ticket stubs like it's got here. It could be going to events, like think of like layouts that you could do for, oh, we went to someone's wedding and you want to keep all of your memories from that wedding in one place. All those sorts of things are starting to appear, like anything that people want to keep as a keepsake. I don't feel like Insight Factory helps at all anymore either. Everything that they come up with is okay. So this is my rant about all of those. This is the reason why I created Digital Product Forecast, because all of those apps, so eRank, Everbee, Allura, none of them are accurate because Etsy doesn't release any of their data publicly. So they can't actually give you an exact figure on anything. So what they are doing is giving you like an estimate. And what I find is it's quite off. Like if you go and look at your own store in their tools, tell me if it's accurate. I remember once looking at Everbee and I knew my sales and I looked at the figure that it gave me and I'm like, it just told me that I was making 4 times what I am. And so I went, I'm not using this tool because if it's telling me that and I'm looking at my figures, well, how do I trust anything else that it's giving me? And so that's why I don't like those tools. So one, they're telling you the things that are already pretty saturated. So if you go for the low, like you're going for the low trends, they're still quite saturated. But if you get in before those trends with something new, then you've got no competition. So Insight Factory is the best out of all of them, to be fair, because you do have like lower competition ones that you can jump on. When it comes to ones like eRank and things like that, I find it's extremely hard to compete with any of those because one, the keywords tend to be 30 days ago. It's like all their reports seem to be from 30 days ago. And if you're seeing those keywords, so is everyone else. So everyone else that has a subscription is jumping on the same thing, and then those keywords are saturated and you can't be found. That's what I find. I actually just describe everything accurately. Like if it's a memory kit, it's going to be called a memory kit in the title and in the tags and the description. Then just describe it in multiple different ways, and that's basically it. So yeah, I do think it's all become very overcomplicated. And SEO is quite simple. It's just basically describing your items so people can find them. So thinking about how people are going to search for them, thinking about words that people say. And if you know your audience, you're going to know how they say things and what they would call it. So like if you think of clipart as an example, you have customers that spell it as one word. You have customers that spell clip and then art as two words. Then you have people that call them illustrations, people that call them PNGs, people that call them images. And so you just need to cater for all of those different searches. So you would say like bumblebee clip art. Then it would be like spring garden bee images, like just describing it in different ways. And you can repeat keywords. You just try to mix it up and try to find other keywords that you can use as well. All right, no one seems to be asking me any questions. So, did I cover everything that you need to know about finding some upstream trends? Is there anything in particular that you're stuck on? And also, when I look at these trends, so when I think like concept memory kit, it makes me think of other ideas. So if you've got a concept memory kit, what other things can you do a memory kit for? So it's not just concepts. You could think theatre. You could think, okay, today we went to the movies. We're going to do like a little movie page in my junk journal. Like try and think of other things that they would be adding in. Alrighty. Well, if we haven't got any other questions, I'm glad it's been helpful, Colleen. Karen, I've loved using this tool of yours, and it's great to know where the research comes from. You're welcome. It's a bit of a challenge behind the scenes. Like I've had people say to me, like, you can get AI to do all of this. Well, yeah, you can, but I think that you'll find it's not as detailed. So I use Claude to help me to find different things. Like I will say to Claude, okay, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to do some research on this niche, and I'll direct it because the trends that it comes out with, I just go, no, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper, because it's not going to give you anything that's deep enough. It's like it goes surface level with everything. And I think that you'll find that as well. Like if you do research with Claude or ChatGPT or anything, it goes that surface level, and you have to keep digging to really get the gems. And so I usually say to it, okay, this is what I want to research. Point me in the right direction, and I'll go do the research. Because if I get it to do it, most of the time it's just not going deep enough. It's not finding things. So yeah, I do use it. Does it do everything? No. Will it in the future? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's one of those things we need to sort of go with, isn't it? So yeah. Anyway, I'm glad that it's been helpful, and you got lots of screen grabs. Awesome. I'm going to leave this replay up in the group. Facebook will remove it in like 30 days, but you'll have access to it anyway. And even if they remove it, I've got a copy of it so I can pop it back up. Anyway, I'm going to love you all and leave you. I hope that you've got some knowledge out of it. And if you've got any questions, though, just drop them in the group and let me know. Always happy to help, as you know. And I'll see you all later. Have a great weekend. Bye.